Yibunei HaMikdash Hirtzio in the Malai Okor Les Ozman.
Baruch Haba, welcome everyone. As I'm recording this, it is the day before Martin Luther King Day, and I'll be releasing this video on Martin Luther King Day and also on Inauguration Day. Of course, it's a tremendous joy that the party of Lincoln is coming back into power, and it's really appropriate that President Trump should be inaugurated on Martin Luther King Day, when Dr. King was the one who taught so much about this ideal that we should look at people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. Obviously, the last regime, all they cared about was people's skin color. They were the worst type of racists, and now we're going back to Dr. King's vision. And that's really, with it being Martin Luther King Day, I want to share that that's really something maybe that this idea that he taught about judging people by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin might have been something he learned from some of the rabbis that he hung out with. You know, it was the yahrzeit of A.J. Heschel recently, who was a good friend of Dr. King, and there were Rabbi Uri Miller, who I believe was an Orthodox rabbi, who marched with Dr. King. So there was a big legacy of Jewish people who took their religion seriously, who worked together with Dr. King. And I believe one of the doctorates that he had was actually from JTS. Very interesting. I think they gave him an honorary doctorate of divinity, among other places where he had earned an honorary doctorates. In any event, with all this being said, this idea of judging by the content of the character rather than the color of the skin is something that we find already in the Jewish tradition. In the Talmud, in Tractate Yuma, which talks about Yom Kippur, we have a fascinating story. Two of the greatest rabbis of the generation were Shmaya and Avtalyon. And they were either converts themselves or the descendants of converts. Actually, according to most opinions, they were descended from Sennacherib, the Assyrian king, from the time of King Hezekiah, so an enemy of the Jews in ancient times, earlier centuries before that time, and centuries later in the time of the Second Temple, his great-grandchildren became the leading rabbis of the Jewish people. Now, a rabbi, anybody from any race, they could convert to Judaism and be a rabbi. A priest, on the other hand, a Kohen, you have to be born a priest in Judaism. And during the time of the Second Temple, there was a tremendous amount of corruption in the priesthood, as is well known. There were very few righteous high priests. And was Rabbi Chaninah, well, he wasn't a high priest, it was Rabbi Chaninah Skana Kohanim. He was the Skana Kohanim. He was prevented from holding his rightful place as the high priest because of the corruption of the Roman government. So, in that time, there was, the Gemara in Yuma tells us, the Talmud tells us in the tractate on the Day of Atonement, that as the one time there was a high priest, they don't name him because there were many, elsewhere in that tractate it tells us that there were many evil high priests, one after the other. Every year, or maybe less than a year, there'd be a new high priest, because they weren't worthy of the position and they would die in office. And so Rabbi Chaninah Skana Kohanim, for example, who was righteous but refused to kowtow to the Romans and yet prayed for them, he would have to finish the job on Yom Kippur when the high priest would die. In any event, so the Talmud tells us that one time, two of the greatest rabbis were Shmaya and Avtalyon. They were Assyrians. They were descendants from Sennacherib, who was an enemy of the Jewish people in the time of King Hezekiah, Chizkiyahu Melech. And from his great-grandchildren came the two greatest rabbis of their generation, Shmaya and Avtalyon. And the custom was, as you see nowadays with certain rabbis, like after a holiday, that as the holiday ends, they'll walk the rabbi home from the synagogue. So this is based on the ancient practice, and there'll be a big procession. So there was a procession when the high priest would walk home after Yom Kippur. And Shmaya and Avtalyon were following the high priest in that procession, and a group gathered around them. And when the high priest noticed that, he was a little bit embarrassed that these rabbis who were not priests and who were either converts or descended from converts were having such accolades, because they deserved it much more than he did. And he derisively, he greeted them, and he said, peace be unto ye, you children of heathens. And their answer was, better that there is peace upon us, the children of heathens, who act like Aaron, who do the uvda d'Aaron, than you, a son of Aaron, who does not act like Aaron, who does not perform the uvda d'Aaron, who does not perform the actions of Aaron. And so perhaps from his friends at JTS, Dr. King learned that Gemara, and that's why he said that he hoped that his children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And so now, Baruch Hashem, this day it's the Yortzeit of the Rambam, it's Martin Luther King Day, and we are inaugurating a new president. Let's look forward, and we're getting away from the racist ideology of the Democrats, and instead now we have the party of Lincoln coming back into power. Let's look forward to a brighter future, and we hope and pray. We pray for President Trump and Vice President Vance and all the cabinet members and everybody. God should bless them and keep them and preserve them. And we are just very happy, thank God, that the party of Lincoln is back in power. So please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We hope to see you later. And somewhere over here, there might be coming up soon a link of another video you might like, or something else. And also, if you did not subscribe, the subscribe link, and then also maybe some playlists. Also, we have a lot of playlists on this channel. Let's try to help this channel grow. Thank you for watching. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Happy Inauguration Day. We love you. Keep up the good work. And also, let's discuss in the comments section and see good things.
Yibnei HaMikdash, Hirtzia in the Mala.